clock speed of innovations, universities, research institutions, and even industry collaborations are the powerful means for developing a solution that fit the society. And studies have shown that patents encourage the development of technology markets. And on top of it, if we look at the prior search based on patents have become an important aid in the process of evaluating research proposals that universities, research institutions, and even the industries they work on. The funding agencies assess novelty and originality of the proposed research, highlighting potential redundancy and plagiarism. So in today's session, we will focus on the role of patents in selecting a research topic that is aligned with industry needs. And to be specific, we'll be discussing the importance of IP in the research and innovation lifecycle and what are the criteria for patenting. In the next step of this presentation, I'll introduce you to the patent intelligence process to track various market signals. And in the next part, we'll look at identifying a research topic. What is the patent intelligence process? How can you track market signals? And what are the trends in different industries that are emerging and that you should look for? And I also share the best practices to identify research areas or topics that are aligned with needs of industries. So let's begin with the research and innovation concept. And if you look at the overall research innovation cycle, it's a widely deployed model to understand technology trends, which are built on the concept of the technology life cycle. And to be consistent with the overall life cycle, it's divided into invention, you have which comes from research, development and dissemination of the R&D that you develop, market evaluation, and finally to commercialize that. And if you look at technology is booming because of exponential advances that are happening in the world, which is changing much faster than we think. And if you look more closely, enabling technologies are evolving very rapidly. Geographic reach is expanding at a faster rate. Power is shifting from west to east. IP portfolio is becoming larger and expensive. And if you look at in 2018, 3.3 million patents were filed, which represents a 5.2% growth in 2017 figures. So this acceleration is because of the constant investments, digitalization, growth incubators like Technology Transfer Office, and strategic partnerships that universities, research institutions are developing with industries. So what's the importance of intellectual property? Patents are a good indicator for measuring countries' technological progress, and as they represent the actual creation and dissemination of knowledge in productive activities. If we look at in the US, the IP intensive industries support at least 27.9 million US jobs, which contribute more than $6 trillion to which 38.2% of US GDP. If we look at Europe, industry that make intensive use of IPRs, it generates 45% of GDP, which is 6.6 trillion euros in the Europe annually. And it accounts for 63 million jobs. That's about 29% of all the jobs that they have. A further 21 million people are engaged and employed in those sectors that supply these industry with goods and services. These statistics suggest that there is a deep link between IP, GDP, and the economic development. Universities and research institutions, they play an important role in economic development of a nation, of a country. And economic development, if you measure, it is in the terms of demands for goods and services, output of skilled and educated workforce, source of innovation, startup companies. And so out of these 4.3 are closely related to universities and research institutions. That is output of skilled and educated workforce, sources of innovation, startup companies. Studies suggest that a university total contribution is quite impactful. A 10% increase in the number of universities in a region contributes to a 0.4% increase in the future GDP of the region. And this is a direct correlation identified. Let's look at what happens if you go at the universities level. So this is a typical research and innovation life cycle, which is at the level of academic and research institution. So the patent is important in the entire research and innovation life cycle, starting from discovery, protection, and commercialization stages. The patent research focus at identifying existing product helps research community to identify high impact innovations, and which increases the success rate and external funding. The universities can focus on strategic areas of research to make an efficient and effective use of available funding. The novel ideas are protected or uh, or exploited through maybe spin outs, or you can go to a licensing to generate wealth, and even you collaborate with industry partners through a long-term licensing program and the grant system. And that generated wealth is invested back in fundamental and the applied research. So it's a virtuous cycle. Fundamental research leads to potential application, which through development leads to innovation, which can be exploited commercially through the patent system to create wealth, which then fuels more research and leads to continuous improvement in society. So what is IP? Very quickly, IP is any product of the human intellect that laws protects from the unauthorized use. There are four types of IP: patents, copyright, trademarks, trade secrets. General four types of IP, and patent is the most powerful type of IP. And if you look at a definition of a patent, it's a set of exclusive rights granted for an invention, which can be either a product or a process that provides in general form, or it is a new way of doing something, or offers a new technical solution to a problem. Patents are the rights granted by patent officers to inventors that allow them to exclude others from making, using, selling, offering for 20 years. And keep it in mind, patents are a territorial right, which means US patent is valid in the US, UK patent is in the US, and so on and so forth. There's nothing called world patent, but of course you have regional patents like GCC, EU, EPO system, or EPO system. So all these are regional, but nothing called as a world patent. So how can you get a patent for? There are four criteria that should be, I would generalize that these are mostly applicable for most of the jurisdictions. And these patent laws require for an invention to be patentable. It must be a patentable subject matter. You need to look at whether you're filing up a subject matter which is patentable. It should be novelty. There should be a novel component. At least some aspect should be new. It should not be obvious. There has to be an inventive step. It should be useful, should have an industrial applicability. And many countries have defined what is not patentable. So if you look at anything which is a literary or musical, artistic, these are copyrights, not patents. A discovery is not patentable. Mathematical models are not patentable. Surgical procedures, most of the nations, they don't allow, or even you can't even enforce them. And there are many more such examples. But one of the important point that I would like to draw your attention, if you're able to get a patent, it doesn't mean that you can generate monetary benefit just because you have a patent. Not all patents are equal. And I can show you with two examples to differentiate what is a weak patent and strong patent. And then I'll link it with why your research should focus on industry objectives or industry alignment. This particular invention is from a 1920 patent, which says, why use a comb to style your hair when you can simply use a cap? And this particular patent it came in 1920. The solution for keeping a perfect hairstyle, whether you are going for a cycling, golfing, or motoring. The flat cap doesn't just protect the wearer's head. Whenever you remove it, its integrated comb runs through the hair, moving it magically into proper and neat position. Simply, this is a bit hilarious because it's not a very typical pattern that you would like to see. And if you look at the market, I don't see any commercialized product on that because it just simply not aligned with market requirements. Maybe the customer preference was not in that direction. So I would categorize this patent as weak. However, if you look at this patent, it's from Apple, a very famous patent, and most of the phones that you own, they use that technology. And it's invented by Steve Jobs et al. And the technology focuses on two-finger gesture, which you use it for zoom in and zoom out. So if you want to do pinch on the screen, for any zoom in and zoom out, that's the technology which is protected by this 949 patent. So imagine this patent, which even if you're not having a an Apple phone, whether it's Samsung phone or Huawei, the same technology goes there because of the licensing. So this is an example of strong pattern which is aligned with consumer preferences. If you look at the patent intelligence process, it's very important because research-focused organization, technology assets, the innovation leaders need to constantly assess in terms of their external R&D that's happening and put those findings into a strategic planning process. So what's the relation between university and industry collaborations? And because of these relationship, there are many blockbuster discoveries have happened over the years. And there are many key examples of fruitful collaboration between academia and industry partners. So many ideas from research in universities are put to use through collaboration between universities and firms. Others reach the market through licensing of startup companies. So we'll be discussing one example which focuses on industry expectations. That includes the market-aligned research. While academia expectations are of funding and infrastructure. Since government funding is reducing, universities are attracted towards private partnership for a fruitful collaboration. So it is important to align industry and academia. So this is one example where industry and academia, they partnership together. So Nonwoven Institute, which has 40 full members, including companies. And there are many successes within that arrangement. There are many products which got commercialized. There are many patents that back those commercialized technologies. So how can you identify the research that is aligned with industry? So patent analysis is important. It is really important, not just in protecting it, but also in understanding what people have done. And if you're looking at those inventions, it would help you to understand where do you stand. You can save money because you don't have to repeat the same thing that people have done. No need to reinvent the wheel. IP ecosystem help in developing an entrepreneurial culture. Universities are the supply side of building a skilled workforce that we all aware of. And through technology transfer office, you transfer that knowledge of the lab to a marketplace. Technological convergence, that's really something that is happening in the current dynamics. And because of the merging and overlapping of technology, it is important to know how your technology can be reshaped in future. So looking at technology drift through patent citations can be considered our knowledge flow among technology fields. So depending upon your objective, patent intelligence can provide answers to a variety of questions. For example, technical maturity and immaturity, if you would like to identify key academic tech transfer thought leaders, or if you would like to identify emerging technologies, maybe your fastest growing technologies, areas of academic focus where the universities or academic institutions are focusing, where is your technology being used, or specific industrial applications. So there are many such questions that can be answered with patent analysis. So what is the patent and intelligence process? Framing, understanding, acting. Define your objectives, select the patent data, and model it to identify trends. And finally, assess that trends to make informed decisions. So let's just look at a quick analysis of a landscape, which is on a bioplastic. Bioplastic, we all know, it's a bio-based, biodegradable feature. So the first analysis that you see on the left, it's the number of inventions across bioplastic with the mention of packaging use and a further specific to a food, beverage, or cosmetic packaging use. So these are the two lines that are denoted in this image. And we see increasing interest in these materials as a replacement for traditional petrochemical-based polymers. Food, beverage, and cosmetic uses account for just under half of all bioplastic packaging patent activity. So as an overall trend, bioplastic innovation in general packaging and food, beverage, and even the cosmetic packaging are very closely related. The second analysis that you see on the right, it's a number of bioplastic inventions that are filed since 2012 in food packaging, beverage packaging, and cosmetics packaging. And out of these three sectors, food packaging is the most active and is increasing most quickly. So this kind of analysis helps you to understand which of these areas that people are focusing at. And if you look at another type of analysis, which is, again, you are looking at pattern data from different angles. So that now the data set is categorized into sub-technologies. So you have further segmented the bioplastic innovations, and you are looking at, there is a focus on mechanical properties of the material. So a lot of inventions are coming into that area. And if we see the another chart, which is on the right, it shows how different types of supply chain, different types of industry partners that are working in that area are shaping that technologies. So clearly there is a more focus on the material science, and then the application of those inventions in FMCG or different type of industries. And of course, academia is playing an important role in there as well. And finally, this is the chart which identifies which of these inventions are emerging. So anything on the right quadrant, it gives you an indication that these are the emerging technologies. So mechanical strength, as we would see, these are the emerging areas. And the focus is really because of the application. So if somebody wants to use this technology, they need a mechanical strength. And that's what the plastic has got. So focus is on the mechanical strength of bioplastics. So just to summarize, finally, universities and research institutions are the factories of knowledge economy. The IP adds another mechanism for universities to spread that knowledge that they generate and to have that knowledge used in the economic sector. So intellectual property, it's an important driver for economic development, no doubt. Intellectual property drives investment. Intellectual property drives, and specifically the patents, they are the important asset because the companies focus in those areas. So even universities, academic institutions, research institutions, they should also look at to align themselves with the industry. And again, it's very important when you look at the technological convergence and market dynamics. And finally, identifying a right topic is important to have a positive impact in your findings. So I would like to leave you with this note: the best way to predict the future is to invent it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your presentation.